Hi, this is Brock Dickinson joining you today from high above the city of Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. And one of the things I wanted to talk about today was the challenges that demographics are creating for workforces around the world. Now, there's some places where the population is growing, as it has throughout much of human history. The population of West Africa by the end of this century is expected to be around 1.4 billion people. But for the first time in human history, overall populations may be shrinking. And this is creating some huge demographic challenges for many countries around the world, places like China, Germany, Italy, the United States. And part of what happens is that as an older generation ages out of the workforce, large generations like the baby boomers in the United States, the generations coming along behind them are much smaller. This means that we're sort of losing people out of the workforce at a faster pace than we can bring people into the workforce, and it's creating labor force shortages around the world. Now, the place where this is probably the worst case scenario is China, where a population today of 1.3 or 1.4 billion is expected to be about half that by the end of this century. And some recent projections even suggesting that it may fall as low as 485 million people by the end of the century, or losing about 2/3 of the population. This creates challenges because as the population shrinks, the workforce shrinks, and it means that workers are scarcer and therefore they become more expensive, and it drives up the prices of everything that workers make. Now, there's two kinds of strategies for addressing this. One is the Canada strategy, which I'll talk about in another video, but the other is the Dubai strategy, which we can see at play here. Behind me, we can see a construction site where there are literally hundreds of workers toiling away on the development of a new high-rise building. And part of how Dubai has responded to this labor challenge is by bringing in large numbers of foreign workers. Now, Dubai itself doesn't have a demographic challenge. If you look at Dubaians, they're a growing population. They have a relatively low average age of 27. Lots of young Dubaians potentially available to come into the workforce. But there's a couple of things happening. Because of oil money, young Dubaians are very wealthy. They're not going to take construction jobs. They're going to work in finance. They're going to work in industries and management. And so what happens is there's nobody available domestically to fill these jobs. And so what Dubai has done is to say, we'll solve that problem by bringing in foreign workers. And just to give you a sense of the extent of what's happening here, the population of Dubai is around 4.5 million people. 85% of those people are not Dubaians. They're not from Dubai. They're coming in from other parts of the world, typically on temporary contracts, to fill this massive labor shortage that Dubai is experiencing. Now, that 85% of the population is largely coming from Asia. It's coming from places like Bangladesh, from India, from Pakistan, from the Philippines, and increasingly from parts of Africa as well. But this has been the way that Dubai has addressed this looming labor force shortage question, is to say, if we cannot produce workers domestically, we'll have to find them internationally, and we'll have to bring them into the country to take on all of these positions that our own people can't do or aren't interested in doing. Now, this brings with it a lot of interesting challenges. It certainly creates an amazing opportunity for Dubai. The city has grown massively in recent years, but that large number of migrant workers also comes with a series of challenges. It leads to risks around human trafficking. It means that many of the wages that they earn flow directly out of the national economy through remittances back to their home countries, so that the financial impacts of wages are often lost from the country where they're actually doing the work. And it creates a whole series of social challenges, as 85% of the population is made up of those from other places who aren't fully integrated into Dubaian society. And so this becomes one of the models that we can look at across the world as we think about labor force shortages, but we have to recognize those kinds of challenges that come along with it. Now, we do see this kind of an approach used in other places. We think of migrant farm workers from Mexico in the United States, or Filipino nurses working in Canada, but there's this sense that relying on large numbers of temporary foreign workers is just a temporary fix. And while you can do some amazing things like the construction and the building that Dubai has been involved in over the last few years, it leaves that larger challenge of your workforce shortages unresolved, and maybe creating other challenges at the same time. That's all for today. We'll see you next time.